Good morning! I am WaywornWyrm, and welcome to my channel. And welcome to Dungeon Delve Episode 1, Coppernight Hold. Mayor Maccus paced behind his desk, looking at the 5 degenerates in his office. They were rat catchers. No, he reminded himself, they weren't even that. At least rat catchers had formed a band and had successfully done something. These 5 he had called in hadn't even managed to do that yet. They were adventurers in name only. But they may prove useful. At least for now. I have called all 5 of you here because of a foolish dwarf. Several months ago, Cavalier Coppernight came into this area with a few dozen volunteers to begin underground mining and to create a small keep on the surface. As this happened inside this province, and at the edge of the area under my control, I have been keeping an eye on his operations. Not too long ago, I sent 2 of my veteran militia members to see what progress was being made and to report back to me after making contact with Coppernight and his people. They should have returned 2 days ago. I brought you here today because I need a recon in force, and honestly, the militia here is spread very thin. There is a reason I only sent 2 men. Eris Greybeard, a Dwarven cleric, spoke up. And what will you pay us with? Maccus stopped his movement and sat down at his desk. That is quite a fair question. Any treasure you find at Coppernight Hold that Cavalier Coppernight can't successfully argue is his by right will be yours. Zycroft Baharush, a dragonborn paladin, took her turn to speak up. The way you phrased that would indicate that it is better for us to find Cavalier dead. What exactly would you like us to do? Maccus laughed at Zycroft's words. No, I do not wish him dead. In fact, I hope with all my heart he succeeds. This small town is the natural trading partner of anything his mines produce. So if he succeeds, then the town grows wealthy as well. No, what I would like for you is to find out what happened and rescue anyone who may yet be alive. Kaelin, the elven druid, piped up next. You have reason to suspect something went wrong? Her tone was curious, but there was an edge of worry buried in there. Maccus shrugged. I assume so. My men would be back now if that weren't the case. The other 2 members of the nearly formed group, the human rogue Ariana, and the long-toothed shifter barbarian named Evening, stayed quiet the entire time. The meeting quickly wrapped up, and the adventuring party left the town they had gathered in. It took them almost 2 days to get to the Coppernight Hold, and they approached the area in mid-afternoon. Atop a low rise sat the excavation site, partially protected by a high wooden fence. Rubble lay strewn around the area. Each member of the party heard the sound of small creatures moving beyond the fence, and they decided to move around the fence and climb over a lot of the rubble to reach the site, with their weapons drawn. As they moved around the edge of the fence, they saw 11 kobolds ready for the battle that was about to take place. Ariana rushed into the fray and charged down the stairs into the hole on the top of the hill that made the footprint of the future keep, and past a second fence. Dodging past several of the kobolds, she ran after 3 slingers who were in the back lines. Using all of her skills, she drove her short sword into the side of the kobold, who cried out in pain. Zycroft opened up the battle by breathing fire from her mouth at several of the kobolds. By the time she was finished, 3 of them had been immolated. Kaelin threw a flaming seed to another one of the slingers, this one next to the hole that marked the top of the tunnel into the mine. As the seed hit the kobold slinger, it exploded and set the entire area on fire. Evening pulled out her greatsword and charged one of the kobolds who was working to surround Ariana. She was able to push through the front rank and get to the slinger that Ariana was facing off with. She cut the slinger down. The slinger that Kaelin had set on fire shot a flaming shot back at her, and it hit and caught her leather armor on fire. The other slinger shot a sling bolt at Ariana. Luckily, it missed. Eris charged down the steps that Evening and Ariana were fighting next to and swung his warhammer at one of the kobolds there. However, he missed, being worse at the warhammer than most of the rest of the group were at their various weapons. The kobold that Eris had swung at used his attack to jab out with its javelin and stabbed into him. The other kobold in the area attacked Ariana, but she was able to push the javelin away. The 3 remaining kobolds all charged at Zycroft, chittering in Draconic about how Zycroft was a false god and a pretend dragon. As all 3 of them attacked, Zycroft was able to deflect 2 of the javelins with her falchion, but the 3rd managed to find a gap in her plate armor and stab into her. Ariana was able to stab the kobold she was fighting with and took it down. Zycroft cut down one of her attackers, slicing it into pieces. Kaelin cast a spell that turned her into a wolf, and she charged down at one of the 2 kobold slingers. She clawed the kobold with her new claws, pushing it down the hole. And it didn't move once it had hit the bottom. Evening rushed the last remaining slinger. Holding her greatsword over her head, she brought it down with every ounce of strength she had in her onto the kobold, splitting it down the middle, slightly burying her sword into the soft sand. Eris attacks the last kobold on the stairs, smashing it down into them. The last 2 kobolds tried to attack Zycroft again, but neither were able to slip by her defenses. Ariana moved to aid Zycroft and took down one of the last 2 kobolds, stabbing it from behind and opening up its back. And Zycroft finished the last kobold. As the din of battle died down, the group gathered around the hole for a minute, catching their breath. Ariana looked at the group. "Well, come on! What are we waiting for?" And she jumped down the hole, grabbing the rope ladder that was hanging there, and finished climbing down. The other 4 members of the group quickly follow her. As Ariana reached the bottom of the hole and turned around, she found herself at the top of a flight of stairs, going into a small hall. Near the bottom of the stairs were some piles of rubble, and she could make out blood staining some of it. In the middle of the hall, there was a large statue of a dwarf warrior in full battle gear in mid-charge. It had been heavily defaced and appeared to be unstable. She also noticed a few figures crouching in the shadows beyond the statue, and some tapestries lining the walls near where the figures were. Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of Dungeon Delve. Tune in on March 1st for the remainder of Coppernight Hall, called Into the Belly of the Beast. And make sure you tune in tomorrow for my Friday show. Thank you.